We've had all the analysis on England's disappointment, on Italy's triumph. It's time now to look at everything else that has happened over the past month. The best players, the best teams, UEFA and the Euros themselves, of course. Let's start with France 24's team of the tournament, carefully selected by our panel. We can see the team there. Perhaps a few last-minute changes. This was done just before the end of the England-Italy final. But Schmeichel in goal, Luke Shaw at left-back, Harry Maguire, Simon Kjær, Kyle Walker, Pedri, Jorginho, Pogba in midfield, Raheem Sterling, Patrick Schick and Federico Chiesa. Any changes, last-minute changes, Ruben, to this team?
Well, maybe you should put in Chiellini for the fantastic final he had, in my opinion. Maybe it's just good to explain Pogba, because, okay, we're France 24, but we also wanted to have Pogba in because in individual performance, it was really impressive. At the same time, he was also kind of a symbol for France, like brilliant at times, but also losing that decisive ball against Switzerland and then getting out of the tournament. So that's maybe good to explain, because a lot of people will say, wow, why Pogba in the team? I think that to add an Italian defender wouldn't be bad, and maybe even Donnarumma in goal. Although, I think that he stopped 2 penalties, but even tonight there were some unclear moments. It wasn't always convincing, so it could be Schmeichel, it could be Pickford, so yeah, it's either taste. Yeah.
James, which player has impressed you the most in this tournament?
I'd just say I don't think we need to look for excuses for Pogba's on the list. I think he was brilliant. I mean, France didn't get at all as far as they wanted to, especially as world champions, but he was there from every game, and his role was essential, and especially, I mean, you could see him in that desire. He was fast. He was on the ball everywhere and really helping the team. So for me, yeah, Pogba definitely. We've discussed this a lot. He definitely has his place on there. Near to him there, obviously Pedri. For such a young lad, I mean, what a performance! I mean, he's part of this growing Spanish team who have had a success. Coming similar to Italy, having to reform and come on to kind of unknown territory together, which makes perfect sense. And then, Schick, of course, to me is the goal of the tournament.
Against Scotland.
Against Scotland. I mean, that was what a screamer. I mean, we watched that one together. No one could believe it. So big goalkeeping error, but massive, huge precision from his side.
If just in terms of the player though of the tournament, who is it? That probably takes it.
I wanted to say Spinazzola, but he's not even in the team. But until the final, I thought, it's so sad that he got injured, so I wanted to mention him. And also maybe even Simon Kjær, but that's just the other story. It's also good, I think, to remember that what he did, not only for his friend Christian Eriksen, and afterwards performing so well, I think that's really impressive. If you look only on the football side, I think that Pedri was the most impressive player in the tournament. Like James said, he is so young and already so dominant. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, perhaps a new Iniesta in the making. Let's talk now about the top teams of the tournament, those that have surprised and performed the best. No surprises really there with our 3 choices: England, Italy, and of course the country of Simon Kjær, Denmark. We've spoken a lot about England and Italy, so I'd like to talk perhaps very briefly about Denmark. What they achieved, in my view, is nothing short of spectacular, particularly the spirit that they had getting to the semi-finals.
Yeah, I'd challenge, who else would you put as thirds on there? If you put the 2 finalists, who else? Because Denmark, where they've come from, what they've achieved, getting so far, when they really had nothing to play for, from the first game, their tournament was over in a sense. They didn't need to prove anything. It was told they were told there was nothing. No one was going to expect anything from them after that. Of course, after losing, Eriksen unfortunately having to leave the tournament like that, and how hard for a team to watch a player. You look at that and you think that could be anyone. And especially going on to play the game after that, and the way it was all televised in a way, very, very weird, and hard for a team to put on. And on top of that, afterwards, they were electric. They put on a great performance, got extremely far, and deserved so.
These are our tops. Let's move over now to our flops, of course, selected whether they disappointed by their performances or also due to their status coming into the performance, into the tournament. And I think, Ruben, if we look at this selection, perhaps people might be surprised that France are there, Portugal as well, the defending champions. But it is true, the defending European champions and the world champions, very disappointing.
France were the odds-on favourite. And I think they had to win. Okay, they lost against a brilliant Swiss side, to talk about one of the tops. But still, it's quite embarrassing for France to go out already in the second round. Turkey, I think that everybody expected a lot from Turkey. And maybe it wasn't right to expect so much. But yeah, it's a flop if you lose your matches. And especially the way they did. It was so bad. So yeah. And Portugal, I think if you look at all those individual players, I think that behind France, they have maybe the best squad in the whole tournament. And we haven't seen it. They were bad against Germany. They were okay against France. Even against Hungary, they had a really hard match. And then they lost against the Belgians. So I think that Portugal, it was a way better team than in 2016 when they won. And now they went out in the second round. So yeah, for me, definitely a flop as well.
Perhaps another manager there that didn't make the right choices for his team. Well, that brings this Euro 2020 show to an end. I would just like to say thank you for following us for this entire month. It's been an absolute